Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch and I'm here this morning at Gibbs Gardens. We're at the gate. It opens at 9 a.m. and we are a little bit early. And last time we came, which was our first time ever coming here, was 2 weeks ago. It was opening weekend and we really enjoyed it, and now we're back again. And this time we are the first people in line at the gate, so that's kind of fun. Heather's going to be using today her Nikon Z50 and various lenses, and I've changed it up this week and brought my Nikon Z6 and only two lenses. I brought the 24-70 f2.8G and the 105 f2.8 macro lens. So we can't wait to get inside and see the flowers. Got some tulips just starting to come up here. When we were here 2 weeks ago, it was really sunny, and we thought it was going to be sunny again today, but it's turning out to be overcast. It's amazing how the forecast can be completely wrong. And we looked at it last night before we went to sleep. But I'm okay with clouds.
Yeah, clouds are good.
We're heading into the daffodil hill now. And 2 weeks ago, it was not fully in bloom, and I don't think it's fully in bloom now.
Well, they plant like 3 different bloom times.
Yeah?
So they have the early bloomers, the mid bloomers, and the late bloomers.
I gotcha. That hill's definitely blooming a lot more than it was 2 weeks ago. Kind of an unusual bloom, kind of like that one. Here are some of Heather's daffodil photos. Now, we had just been there 2 weeks prior and did basically daffodils only almost. So we didn't do as many daffodils this time, but this shot is really cool in 16:7, and here's another 16:7 shot. We really like the backlit look that you can get there at Gibbs Gardens on the daffodils. And here is an example of it. Now on this shot that I made with the 105 f2.8 macro, this is a lot of backlit, and I think this may be my favorite daffodil shot so far from Gibbs Gardens. I like the bokeh-fied daffodils on the hill in the background. Well, we have been shooting daffodils again, just like last time. The crowd control guys recommended everybody go that way, but we like this hill here because in the morning the daffodils are backlit, so we've been doing photography right here, but we're not going to go all the way up the hill this time. We're going to go try to find the tulips, and so that's our next destination. You excited?
Yes, I am.
Tiptoe through the tulips. While we were walking over to see the tulips, we stopped and took a look at these funny looking fuzzy things that look like they might be out of some sort of a Dr. Seuss cartoon book or futuristic alien novel. But it turns out these are poppies that haven't bloomed yet. Aren't they funny looking fuzzy things? We're here at the tulips now. There's not a whole lot of them, but there's a nice little row, and apparently there's some blooming in other spots. You can see Heather working over there, and I noticed I had a couple of specks on my sensor already, and so I got this blower out and blasted the dust off of my sensor. Here's my rig this morning. You can see the Nikon Z6, the FTZ adapter, and the 105 f2.8 macro. Well, we finally found the tulips, and this is the first section of tulips that we photographed, and this photo is super bokeh-fied, even bokeh-fied trees in the background. Maybe only one flower is in focus. And here's a tulip that hasn't opened yet, and I think that 105 f2.8 macro lens is just magical in the way that it renders out of focus characteristics. Here's another tulip that is not fully open yet. I really enjoyed taking a shot at the tulips from high above and looking straight down, getting as close as I could. And now, you know, one difference between using a macro lens and then maybe using a regular lens with extension tubes, where you can get almost as good of a macro photo, with a real macro lens you can make a landscape photo without taking any extension tubes off. So that's really cool. I absolutely love this photograph. Look at the out of focus characteristics that were rendered by the 105 f2.8 macro at f8 and really up close. Now check this out. Here is Heather working hard using the Z50 and the 18-400 Tamron lens. She doesn't care who's walking around. She gets in the dirt and works. And here is another shot of mine with the 105 2.8 macro of a, I was kind of more attracted to the blooms that weren't open than the open ones. I don't know why that is, but I thought they looked cool. Are you having any luck?
Yeah.
You like these tulips?
Oh, I love them. I want them.
These are Heather's tulip photographs from that first area of tulips, and it's really interesting to look at the way Heather does her color edit versus the way I do my color edit. She does a little bit more manipulation than I do, and her flowers look absolutely amazing because of it. I tend to like a little bit of a cooler edit, where Heather likes to warm them up without actually using the warm slider. She does some actual individual color adjustments, but doesn't she have beautiful results? Look at these beautiful tulip photos that she's made. I always love it when she does 16:7. I think she does it because she knows how much I like 16:7. But man, that looks cool. And doesn't that Tamron 18-400 render beautiful photographs? Well, now we're over near the visitor center, and we didn't make any photographs over here 2 weeks ago, but now there are tulips blooming. So there's these beautiful orange and yellow ones right along here that we worked on for quite a while, and then just over here is a bunch of really pretty red ones, which Heather's working on now. Which ones you like better, these or the orange ones?
Which ones are the orange ones? The ones?
Those over there.
Oh, I like those better.
Yeah.
Because they have, like, where the red meets the yellow, they have some really cool lines.
Yeah.
Where they're blending.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Look at the gorgeous warmth that Heather was able to get out of this photograph. Super, super beautiful photograph, and the rule of thirds she's got going on, and the bokeh-fied, and just everything is cool. And then here's one of my photographs. I was trying to capture those red and yellow streaks in these tulip blooms that Heather was talking about in the previous clip. And I don't know if I captured them as good as Heather did, but I did what I could. And this one, it's an interesting flower because most of them were mostly red with only a little bit of yellow, but Heather found one that had a lot of yellow and not as much red. And here is one of my photographs, and I tend to like the tulip blooms before they bloom, and I thought this one was kind of neat because you can see a pansy or a viola, some sort of flower there in the background as well. And here is Heather's shot. See how much she has captured the streaks of red and yellow in this particular bloom. That's kind of what I was going for in my shot a couple of photos back, but it looks like Heather captured that better. Here is maybe one or two tulips in bloom, and the rest of the bed being kind of bokeh-fied as it heads towards, I'm not sure what kind of tree that is in the background. And here is, Heather was the only one of us to make a photograph that was shared of the red tulip bed. And this one she's looking up and has some bokeh-fied circles as well. We're back into the gardens now, away from the visitor center. We're kind of up the hill from the Hemingway Bridge and the ponds that are down there, and we found some more tulips. Heather right now is making photographs of something that she calls these cool looking purple things. How you liking them?
They're cool.
And they're purple? Awesome. Let me show you what else we've found up here. Here's Heather's photos from that area, and she chose to focus on a yellow bloom which was kind of scarce with lots of red bokeh-fied blooms in the background. But I think Heather's favorite flowers in this area were these purple hyacinths. We think that's what they're called. And she made this photograph of one. There were purple ones and pink ones, and Heather concentrated mostly on the purple ones, as you can see here, and she let the pink ones be bokeh-fied in the background. Now I attempted to photograph these, but I wasn't happy with my shots, but Heather made some nice ones of these hyacinths. This little spot, they're not quite blooming yet, but I made a couple of shots of these two. And then up here, there's lots of reds and a couple of yellows and a couple of purples. And we made some photographs of some of those as well. The obvious choice for photo composition in this bed that had mostly red flowers with an occasional yellow one was to make one of the yellow ones the subject of the photo, and I did that as well with lots of bokeh-fied red flowers in the background. Now here is a wide open tulip that I shot straight down at, and I wish I had used a wider aperture so only the anther and stamen parts in the middle were in focus and everything else would have been bokeh-fied. And here are those two flowers, those early bloomers in that bed. I imagine by a week later that entire bed would have looked like this, but it was cool to get these two flowers with nothing else blooming. Now here's a behind the scenes photograph of Heather as she is really getting down in the dirt and into her work, making photographs of these hyacinth flowers. On this particular shot, one of those purple tulips was the subject, and the leaves or petals on those purple tulips were very pointed, and I used that as the subject with bokeh-fied red flowers. This is a rogue daffodil that's kind of out and on its own, and it was really pretty, didn't have any damage to any of the petals or anything, so I made this photograph, and you can see very bokeh-fied in the background is an entire bed of tulips. Also, there's lots of beautiful trees in bloom. Here's another example of that 105 f2.8 macro lens being good for more than just macro photos, as I made this f2.8 portrait of Heather standing on one of the gravel roads there at Gibbs Gardens. We're here now in an area called the Sculpture Garden, and when we came here 2 weeks ago we made photos of viola, and now there are tulips in the same bed. Let me show you. There's sculptures all over the place here. They're more like statues really, but right over here is where we made photos of the viola 2 weeks ago, and now look at all these beautiful tulips. Heather likes it, so we made a number of photos here. Heather says this bed of pink and yellow tulips was her favorite of the entire area. And this is one of her shots with a pink tulip in the foreground and lots of bokeh-fied yellow tulips in the background. And this is my shot. I shot this at f3, and I was pretty far back, and I have some tulips in the foreground and lots of really bokeh-fied tulips in the background. Here's another one of Heather's shots. On this one she's concentrating on possibly the same pink tulip, but she's really made it the complete subject of the shot, although there are bokeh-fied tulips in the background. And here's my shot. This is very similar to my last one, but on this one I was way closer to the flowers, so the subject was more prominent. And even though I'm at 6.3, the background is still very bokeh-fied. Here is Heather's shot, and this one's interesting. Lots of lighted bokeh on the top right of the shot, and beautiful, very sharp flower in the foreground. Of all the sculptures in the sculpture garden, this one with the little girl playing with the butterflies is my favorite, and I shot this at f11 with the tulip garden in the background. Here's Heather's photograph with a yellow tulip in the foreground and lots of pink and yellow tulips in the background. Very beautiful. That garden was really something to behold. Here's another one of my shots. This one I'm using a yellow tulip as the main subject, where a lot of these pictures have featured a pink tulip as the main subject. They're rule of thirds in the bottom right corner. And here is Heather's shot. It's another pink tulip, but this one's open a little bit further than our subject has been in most of these photographs. And she's got nice bokeh on the top left as well. It's lunchtime again, and we went to the little Gibbs Garden Cafe. This time we got 2 hot dogs each, and I got some of these mesquite chips and a coconut Sprite. So let's eat. Here's Heather's photograph of a spring snowflake flower, and these were among our favorites from 2 weeks ago, and a lot more of them were blooming this particular time. And Heather made this beautiful photograph with the Tamron 18-400. We had a great time. Well, our second trip to Gibbs Garden was fantastic. We really enjoyed the tulips today, and the daffodils are still doing their thing too. Probably be a little while before we can come back. Got a lot of weekend plans in the next few weeks, so we will definitely be back. Just don't know exactly how soon. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, thumbs up is always appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.